In New Jersey, I think they've calculated there's a shortage of 200,000 statewide, 200,000 affordable units. In New Jersey, there's something called the Mount Laurel Doctrine, which mandates each municipality based on a formula, based on growth and size and available property to mandate a certain number of affordable housing units to be constructed. Some municipalities in New Jersey fight against that. There's still, through all the education that's been done and the reality that people should be living with, there's still a little bit of a stigma about affordable housing and what that means and who it services. In Bordentown Township, this administration, my administration, and the township committee, we really embraced it. We understand the need. We understand that it's positive. The positives outweigh the negatives, if there are any at all.
Yeah. Okay, the Jentry Podcast. I know that you will be loving it. We here to break it down so that you start to understand your local government. Who are the leaders? Time to get active, do something about it. Dealing with jobs, the workforce, and affordable housing. Motivate and inspire. Elevate, take it higher. For the next generation. Knowledge is power for your community. Giving you the info that you really need. Time to make a change and a difference. Tune in, don't miss it. It's the Jentry. The Jentry Podcast. The Jentry Podcast. Making a change, switching it up.
Hello, and welcome to the Jentry Podcast. Today, we have an incredible guest. I'm your host, Jonathan Mason, and with me, I have Michael Theokas, who is the Township Administrator of Bordentown Township in New Jersey. This man needs no introduction. He has served in the private sector, the public sector, and leaves a trail of success everywhere he's been. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of that success, Michael, how are you doing today?
Doing fantastic, Jonathan. It's great to be here. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, thank you so much for being here. The pleasure's definitely ours. Now, I want to jump into it as I always do. So, what is the secret sauce? What makes Bordentown Township the best place to live in the United States?
Thank you. We have a few taglines here in Bordentown Township, and the one I like the best, I think answers your question, is that we are the crossroads of the heart of New Jersey. Graphically, we are almost right in the middle of the state of New Jersey, and we are at the intersection of several main highways, state highways, and thoroughfares. So we are really at the crossroads of New Jersey. We are equidistant, almost equidistant from the city of Philadelphia and Manhattan, New York City. We can easily be at the Jersey Shore, the beaches, within less than an hour, and we can be in the mountains of the Poconos in Pennsylvania in just a little over an hour too. So we're really at the heart of all those great assets and places. So we like to call ourselves the crossroads of the heart of New Jersey. We have a lot of heart here. It's a growing community. It's a very close-knit community. There's a lot of history here. We've seen a lot of growth, and there's a lot more exciting things happening in the future. So that's why people should come to Bordentown Township. That's why we think we're one of the best communities in New Jersey and in the country.
Wow, Michael, that's amazing. I love that tagline, the crossroads to the heart of New Jersey.
Correct.
And you are at the epicenter of so many incredible things that are known nationwide.
100%.
But I always say this: you get to know a town or a municipality so much by knowing who their leadership are. So as I always say, take the long route. So, what was your childhood like? Did you always know you wanted to lead a township? And what was your journey like into becoming a township administrator?
Yeah, actually, if you'd have told me growing up that I would be in a role like this, I probably wouldn't have agreed with you. I grew up a little bit north of here in North Brunswick, New Jersey, which is maybe a half an hour north of Bordentown. I grew up in an athletic family. My father was in athletic administration in college and pro sports. My mother was a school teacher. I have one older brother. We were athletes growing up. I was a football player. I played football at Rutgers University right here in New Brunswick. New Jersey, proud alum and letter winner and supporter of Rutgers University and the athletic teams. And I really first wanted to follow in the footsteps of my father and get into athletic administration and leadership. And really wanted to pursue that. And my first very small job out of college was in that field. You know, wasn't really a lot happening there. I got into some sales jobs, as a lot of younger people do. And then I got the entrepreneurial bug. I am 100% Greek American and proud of it. So I did get in the restaurant business for a time. And my father and I owned and operated. He was semi-retired. We owned and operated a couple different restaurants. The last restaurant we owned was in a little borough called Hightstown Borough in New Jersey, which again is not too far from here. We owned a local tavern, and I moved to Hightstown when I owned the business. So I got to start to know the people in Hightstown Borough. It was very easy to get to know the mayor and the borough council people. That's where I started to get an interest in local government. It's a small borough. Everybody was involved. Everything was important. So I started to go to meetings, pay attention about how things worked, why things worked the way they did. That really spurred my interest in local government. After we sold the restaurant, I was kind of looking for my next thing. I actually was an elected official first. I ran for council and was elected, lost my first try and ran again and won my second try and served a term on borough council. And I think that's when I started to really formulate my, knowledge about this. I was the guy at the beginning when I would sit in the audience and I would hear the elected officials up there on the dais. I'd say, boy, what are they doing? They don't understand. I'm a business owner. They should run it differently. And how come they're doing this and not that? And I was second guessing them and being a little cynical, to be quite fair. When I got on borough council, I was very, very fortunate. I always say a lot of times I was a lot lucky and a little bit smart. I was very fortunate during that time that there were people on the council when I was elected onto the council who had been on for a while, who took the time to work with me and to talk with me and to show me not just what was being done, but why it was being done and really get me behind the scenes. And I was a little bit smart enough to listen to them and start to figure it out and be like, now I see, now I understand the processes that are a little bit different a lot different than the private sector, why things happen, how they happen. And that's what really continued to grow my interest in public service. Served the term on borough council, was again looking for things to do. They had an opening. Hightstown Borough had an opening for a borough administrator, different form of government, same job. They were having trouble finding somebody, and I said, I'm looking for something to do. You're looking for someone to do it. I have a little local knowledge of the borough. I'll do the job, and I'll do it relatively inexpensively. Because at the time I wasn't married, I didn't have any real obligations. That was my first job as a municipal manager, and that was right around 2010, 2011. And I served the borough council, served the borough as their borough administrator for about 2 years. And when you work in a small borough like that, or a small municipality, you really get to know every piece of what happens. You have to. You don't have a big staff. You don't have a big budget. You have to do things yourself and be involved in a lot of detail yourself. That was very beneficial to me. Again, I was also a little bit smart and a lot lucky that I was able to talk to people and listen to people who were kind enough I would pick up the phone and ask questions. Hey, I don't know how to do this. Help me. How do you do it? How is it done? And the industry of municipal managers is a relatively small one, but is very close and supportive. So I was able to do that. Then it's time to move on there. I wanted to grow a little bit more. So I took a job way down in South Jersey in the city of Woodbury in Gloucester County, which is really a suburb of Philadelphia, right over the bridge, outside Philadelphia. Little bigger municipality, little different challenges, much more urban environment, much more densely populated, a lot more activity. And I went down there and didn't know anybody down there, had no history there, jumped in blind and absolutely loved it. There were great people there who wanted to do a lot of change. They wanted to do different things. And we really accomplished a lot in a relatively short amount of time when I was in the city of Woodbury. And I got to know a different size. So small suburban borough. I go to a slightly larger urban municipality. I'm getting all kinds of different experiences and access to different people, and I listened to them, and I started to take some classes to get some different certifications. I got my mini masters, I got some zoning certifications, land use stuff I started to learn. Then I got married, and we were still living up further north, and I was commuting quite a bit. So my wife and I decided that if we were going to start a family, which we wanted to do, that geographically this Woodbury wasn't really working. So I was looking around. We were looking for a new house and also looking for a new job, both of which wound up in Bordentown Township, which was quite coincidental. We didn't plan it that way, but so back in 2017, I made the move from Woodbury to Bordentown Township. And we moved here also in 2017. So not only am I the township administrator for the past 9 years, but we're residents of the township as well, which I think, adds, a different perspective as well. We have 2 young, beautiful children who we're raising here who are in the school system. So, it's been a great run. Bordentown is bigger than the other 2 municipalities. The growth is a lot faster. It brought a whole bunch of different challenges and opportunities. So I've been really lucky that in all my experiences, they've been a little different. I've been able to pull different things from them, meet different challenges, meet a whole bunch of different people who have been very kind enough to help me and guide me through the process. And that's where we are. So I've been in Bordentown again since May of 2017. So we're 9 years, just had my 9-year anniversary. And the governing body is great. We are finishing literally any day now. We're finishing a brand new municipal building, which we'll be moving in very soon, which has been a monster of a project. I'll be happy to talk about that later. So that's the long and the short of it. I hope I didn't go too long, but that's how I got from a football player from North Brunswick, New Jersey, to the township administrator of Bordentown Township.
Wow, Michael. No, that's exactly what I wanted and even taking it there from a college football player to
Mhm.
entrepreneur in one of the toughest industries, I'll say. I've I've kind of steered clear in my professional
I
life.
tell a lot of people, I'm sorry to interrupt. I tell a lot of people that when they ask me, do you miss the restaurant business? And I said, I do not regret it. No, we had a lot of great experiences there. My father and I, fortunate enough, we did okay. We got out at the right time, but I would not go back. And I don't recommend to anybody to get into it from the beginning either. It's very challenging. Can be rewarding, but it's very challenging.
Yeah, but it seems challenging, and I've had friends do forays into it. So
Yeah.
to understand that you've had success, so much success on the private sector, and then you've had such a breadth of experience
Yeah.
in the public sector from smaller communities to a little bit larger, right outside Philadelphia with potentially urban issues, to now a large township that is in the middle of everything. While we're on Bordentown, what are some of the strategic priorities? What are the at least the municipal focuses right now?
The township has grown, and it's a challenge to grow the municipal operation as the town grows. As you gain residents, as you gain businesses, as more people visit and come through your municipality, you need to meet the needs of those people with services in facilities, in infrastructure, and that's all. It's sometimes difficult to match the speed of that. So our challenge, and I think we're doing a good job. We've done a good job in the past 5 to 7 years of growing our service base to meet the needs of our customer base, which includes residents and businesses and visitors. So that's the biggest thing. And I mentioned it before. I'm talking to you right now from an office building that is woefully out of date. We've outgrown it, especially our police department and our emergency services. And so we had a real need, and they knew this 10 years ago. We had a real need for a new municipal complex, a home for municipal operations, something that befits a town like Bordentown, which has grown so much, which really has a really good reputation and stature in central New Jersey, which is where we are, central South New Jersey. And we just are completing a project, a brand new 2-story building right behind me, right over my left shoulder here, which is going to house our police department, our municipal court, and all of our administrative functions. And we're getting ready to open it in a couple of weeks. So it's been a very exciting project. From construction, we broke ground only about 18 months ago. So it's been a very fulfilling project, very challenging. Again, something I've never done before. I learned a lot through the process. So, we've had to, increase our park services, increase our staffing levels, increase our technology and our public outreach, how we talk to people, how we disseminate information. All of this while trying to manage a budget that we're not trying to overburden our residents with additional property taxes, which in New Jersey is very significant. Those are the things that we're managing, is really how to manage our growth and meet the needs of our expanding population, our diverse population. We have new homes being built, large, McMansion type homes, 4 or 5 bedroom homes. We have some older housing stock of homes that were built in the 70s and 80s that are a little smaller. We have a lot of multifamily homes, apartments being built. We have a large variety of housing. And when you have a large variety of housing, you get a large variety of people who have different needs. So the challenge and the goal is really to continue to meet and surpass those expectations and really create a quality of life here where everybody can be happy and proud of it. I think that based on the feedback that we get and the outreach that we do, that we're certainly heading in the right direction. You're never done. You're never completely satisfied, but we're certainly moving in a good direction.
That's amazing. That is what do they call it? Champagne problems.
Yeah, right.
Fancy. People want to be there.
Yeah.
And that comes with opportunities and challenges of how to sustain that growth and how to service that growth. And you brought up one that is very important across the nation. We're often hearing that there's a housing crisis. What you kind of walk me through is that you guys are able to build a lot. Have you run into any, let's say, missing middle need a certain type of housing, or are there any affordability concerns or attainability or workforce housing concerns? We see it across the nation. How are you guys addressing some of those things?
So,
Or seeing?
yeah, great question and very pertinent question. Yeah, in New Jersey, I think they've calculated there's a shortage of 200,000 statewide, 200,000 affordable units. In New Jersey, there's something called the Mount Laurel Doctrine, which mandates each municipality, based on a formula, based on growth and size and available property, to mandate a certain number of affordable housing units to be constructed. Some municipalities in New Jersey fight against that. There's still, through all the education that's been done and the reality that people should be living with, there's still a little bit of a stigma about affordable housing and what that means and who it services. In Bordentown Township, this administration, my administration, and the township committee, we really embraced it. We understand the need. We understand that it's positive. The positives outweigh the negatives, if there are any at all. Anytime you build a lot of residential growth, like we talked about, you have to make sure you service them with water, with sewer, with utilities, with roadways, transportation, public transportation. So we have to be mindful of that. But we have really embraced it, and we've really, in the last several years, we've built thousands of overall units and hundreds, if not thousands, of affordable units designated deed restricted for certain people of certain income levels, that is available only to them. That'll be that way for at least 30 years, if not more. And we've also been very cognizant of the different types of housing that we're supplying. We had a great project with Habitat for Humanity, the local Habitat for Humanity, where we built 10 new affordable houses that are for sale units. So that's legacy kind of stuff. That's where people build equity in their home ownership. We also have a lot of, apartments that will have market rate units right alongside and with affordable units, which is really the best way, in my opinion, to do it. There's no distinction. There's no difference, but you're giving people an affordable opportunity to live in a complex amongst a lot of different people. We have senior housing, which is another big population, senior affordable housing. So, and with those, the senior folks, they have different needs that you need to make sure that they may have different medical needs, different transportation needs. Geographically in the township, we don't put it all in one place. We spread it throughout the township so people have access to our different amenities, and so we're not congregating everything in one spot. So we've done it very thoughtfully. We've embraced the opportunity to provide that housing. We continue to do that. We're undergoing a review of our master plan, which in New Jersey, every municipality has a master plan for land use. We're going to re-examine that this year, see where other opportunities may be, the best opportunities may be for additional housing, to make sure that those opportunities, fit the needs of the people who are gonna ultimately be living there. And we understand that population growth for us brings other things, brings commercial growth, brings retail growth, restaurant, and these people need services. They want to, all people need to shop and eat and have recreation. So it really grows the whole community. This mayor and committee have really embraced that. I happen to personally believe it too. We really think we're leading the way. We're way out in front of our obligation numbers. We don't even pay attention to our obligation numbers. We really are way out in front of that, and really building things, that we feel the best for our community now and the best for our future residents when they come.
Wow, no, and I think that last part that you said, it's like we don't even focus on the mandated
Yeah. And
numbers.
that's not, and that's, and I'm proud to, I'm both proud and embarrassed to say that that's unique in New Jersey. It's not everybody feels that way. I wish they did. But if you read the news, towns fight against the number. They fight against any obligation at all. Because again, there's a stigma. There's a not in my backyard stigma. And that's unfortunate. People who need affordable housing are across the spectrum. They're the kids. They're the people who teach your kids in school. They're your police officers and your firefighters. They're your nurses. They're your retail. We have another industry that's grown a lot in the township is because of our location. We've had a lot of industrial warehouse growth, the logistics industry. They're the people who are making sure your packages arrive on time. And these are the people that make the world run. Housing costs have far, far, far outpaced income levels. Everybody's struggling with that now. We recognize it, and that's why we're trying to do our little part. We're a good-sized municipality. We're not the biggest, but we're trying to do our part, which is all we can do, and do it to the best of our abilities.
Yeah, no, and it sounds like you guys are at the forefront of focusing on it. One question I would have, and I typically have different
Yeah,
maybe different perspectives, but I mean, you're in a pretty well populated and growing area in New Jersey, close to Philly and New York City.
yeah.
So this question may be a little bit of a lollipop, but what are you guys doing to spur development? Is there anything from, it sounds like you guys are looking at the master plan. Do you guys utilize municipally owned land to spur development? What are some of the things that you guys have seen that have increased the will for people to come build in Bordentown?
Think we don't own a lot of municipally owned land, and what we do is we do have some preserved farmland. Bordentown historically was a very rural community. Back in the day, there were a lot of farms. We're trying to preserve that a little bit, but the way that we're trying to, there's a couple of ways that you can spur growth in New Jersey. One of them is through redevelopment, and by tagging a parcel or parcels in an area in need of redevelopment, it gives the municipalities tools via tax incentives or zoning flexibility to enable to attract the type of uses that you want, be that residential, commercial, or so on. But really, it's kind of it's really all encompassing. You need residents, you need the rooftops to support those things. So we're trying to grow our residential base, and in addition, we're really marketing ourselves as the crossroads, accessible to all these places. A lot of townships around us have also grown similarly. So we're trying to kind of attach ourselves to them, not just look at Bordentown, but the Bordentown geographic area, which has grown. And really, we've taken a strong priority to our public outreach and our public image via social media. We have really do a great job, I think, really in the last year when we really focused on it, of putting things out there in the public that show our amenities, that show our people, that show who we are. And we've had people comment to us, boy, that really looks like a great place to live. And I think that those are intangible things. Your reputation is an intangible thing sometimes, but we're building a reputation of being a welcoming place, business friendly, service oriented. diverse in both economics and racially diverse, economically diverse, um, religiously diverse. So we, when you get that kind of reputation, things kind of come to you. We're very fortunate in our location. You can't beat location. We're also very close to Trenton, which is the state capital. So we get a lot of state employees who live here or in this area or travel through us to get to the state capital. So we're very fortunate in our location. So we're trying to take advantage of that by growing our population and growing our commercial corridor to meet that population.
That's awesome. It sounds like you guys are doing a lot to make sure that you're growing the population, but also providing the homes and the services that they need. The last thing you said, it was that commercial base. Are there any industries that you guys are actively looking to bring in, or you guys are excited about and would love to have them locate in Bordentown?
So the retail shopping market is interesting, right? With the advent of the Amazons of the world and the e-trade, e-commerce. Just north of us a little bit, there's a pretty significant shopping hub that's got a lot of the big national brands. We're trying to pull some of that down to us, but again, we're also being creative. The entertainment world anymore, with children's entertainment and then adult stuff. And I don't mean adult entertainment. I mean like, the virtual golf and the axe throwing and those type of things. Amenities. Those are things that we're kind of looking to be breweries. Those type of things that we're looking to add to our portfolio to be unique. And that are new. So that will really kind of be destination places, not just your average store, but news, a different kind of store, unique. We're trying to do that with our retail, with restaurants, right? If you have a restaurant, a different kind of restaurant style, ethnicity, culinary side. So you know, hotels. We have some hotels, so we're looking at maybe a hotel or a conference center because of our central location. That those are the kind of industries that we think we can attract here. So we're trying to target things, and I use that because there is not a Target around here, so we could use a Target, and my wife would be very happy with that. But with those type of things, things that are missing in the general region, we're trying to really focus on them, and give them opportunities. And we have some land available. It's not publicly owned, but there is some privately owned land available on our commercial corridors that we think would fit.
I love that you said it, like a destination that you're
Yeah,
creating. And I think that's so important. I have to think about like how my family is set up. It's just me and my wife, and then our son's about to be 2 years old. So I need a lot of child friendly things. Then also like, date nights, just people
exactly.
in town. Like you want to have just some activities so you can just get out the house. I can attest that that would
Yeah, I
be
have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, so I hear you. And we try to do that. By the way, we put on a lot of great public events. We have a fireworks, we have a community day, we have a fish derby, we have an Easter egg hunt. We do a lot of family oriented things for just those reasons. We know who our population is. It's a lot of people like us with young families, and we want to give them free of charge opportunities. We don't charge anything for our events. So, give them opportunities to be out and about. And then in the commercial space, try to tell the world, hey, there's a big population here of people who could use those type of amenities, services. Yeah.
officially. Thank you for being on the hot seat. We're gonna shift gears now
Okay.
to our last chance game. So it's not the hot seat, but it is quick. Last chance games comes from improv. So I'm gonna
Okay.
give you 3 questions. You'll answer them first thing that comes to your head, and then we'll circle back so you can explain, exit out, cancel it, whatever it needs to be. So for the first question, I'm starting off hot. So what is a policy that sounds good on paper, but is almost impossible to execute in practice?
Ooh, policy that sounds good on paper. First thing that came to my mind, it may not be, well, it is what it is. First thing that came to my mind. Everybody, we hear a lot about traffic control and speeding. And everybody we have some, we have neighborhoods, and then we have some roads that connect neighborhoods, and everybody wants speed bumps and traffic control on those streets. We have a great police department, but we can't be everywhere at all times. Everybody wants traffic enforcement on their street 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And speed bumps are something that sound good in practice, but if you talk to our public works folks, if you talk to when they have to plow snow, if you talk to the garbage pickup guys who have to roll over them, if you talk to the emergency responders who have to sometimes speed through the neighborhoods to get to somebody, they're terrible. Studies have shown they don't slow speeds. People will slow down and then speed up immediately after. They also create a lot of noise. Every time a landscape truck rolls by with lawnmowers, they rattle and rattle and rattle anytime any truck goes by. One that we hear a lot. Why can't you put speed bumps and control the speed on our road? The other thing is traffic in general, if I may continue to go on. I mentioned earlier that we've had some industrial warehouse growth in the township, again, due to our location. We have 2 big truck stops in the township, on our southern portion of the township. It generates a lot of truck traffic. Nobody likes truck traffic. It's hard to manage. The roads, sometimes are not meant for those, 18-wheel, large size trucks and trailers. We manage that the best we can, but we have to all understand, in the world, who doesn't call somebody and get it delivered to their house in a day or 2 days? Someone's got to bring that there. There's a plus and a negative, positive and a negative to that. We can't control all the traffic that comes through the township. It's impossible to do. But, we hear about those kind of traffic control issues that everybody says, why can't you fix that? And there's a lot more to it. There's a lot of nuance to that. And it's not something that can be fixed in a snap or very easily, or even at all in some cases.
Wow. Yeah. I have not thought about some of those second order or next level consequences of speed bumps before, but that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, it does. It really, when you think about it, it really does. And we answer that question all the time the same way. Most people understand it when you say it to them that way. Especially about the emergency responders. When the police and the fire have to come through, you don't want them having to slow down or bounce around on speed bumps. But yeah, all right.
Well, this one may be easier, may not. I think it's a fun one. What is something that you think AI could help you with in your day to day? And then the second half of that is, what is something that AI could never help you with in your
Yeah,
daily
again,
day?
very, very relevant. And it's changed since the last time I think you and I even talked, Jonathan. It's changed. We do, again, I am I'm 52 years old. I'm not, I'm technologically okay, but I'm still a little old school. But I have embraced AI because we have to, because it's here, and there's no sense trying to fight it. AI is very useful to us in certain circumstances. For me personally, AI is really, to me, I see it as something that can really consolidate a lot of information quickly from a lot of different sources. And for me, that helps me sometimes. It helps our staff sometimes collect information. It helps my deputy, who is our public information specialist. It helps her create language and some things that quicker than it normally would. We use it on our website for search features. It helps us streamline our processes online to direct people where they want to go. It gives us the information that we need to do that. What it can't replace, and maybe never will, I don't think it ever will, is that people still do, especially in their government, I think, they do like to see and hear and speak to a person. I always use this example when people come pay their taxes. A lot of people pay their taxes through their mortgage, or they pay online, but we still have a steady stream of people who want to come into the office and speak to Pam, my tax collector, who's wonderful, and talk to her and just have that interaction of doing that. If they have an issue, if there's an issue on their street, a pothole or something, sometimes they want to talk to the administrator. They want to talk to the public works director. Certainly policing is very face to face, and you need to have that community policing and that community connection with your emergency in your public safety people. So I think there's still a real need for that from people. And I think that, AI, maybe I won't live to see it. I don't know, but it can't replace that. And I do think that so much happens on an interpersonal level, especially when it comes to government. They want to be able to come to a meeting, see their elected officials. They want to meet their elected officials at events and know that if they have a problem, they can talk to the mayor, who's going to make sure it gets to the right person and it gets done. So I see the benefits of it. AI, definitely. I think it's the way of the future. I think it needs work. Sidebar, one of the things that's also facing municipalities right now is the infrastructure needed to support the AI in these data centers. I don't know if you've seen anything about that, but the bandwidth needed to support all this technology is being done through these mega data centers, which are becoming an issue from a land use perspective. They use a lot of water to cool their systems. They use a lot of energy to produce all that technology. They create noise sometimes that we don't know about yet. That's a challenge, that kind of unforeseen challenge that AI is bringing, that municipalities are going to have to deal with very quickly, because the public is a little uncertain about it, a little cautious, rightfully so. But so when you talk about AI, it's not just chat GPT and type something in and get an answer. It's a really wide ranging thing. And the one last thing I'll say about it is, so many people, we're starting to recognize now, I can at least, and again, I'm not an expert, you can recognize an AI answer when you get one. It just doesn't sound like a real person. It just sounds a little too perfect. And so when we send emails or we send things and we start to get responses, I can tell that that's an AI response and that's not Jonathan responding to Michael. You know what I mean? That's a turn off for me a little bit. When you get a personalized email or note or phone call, that to me goes a long way. So I think AI is the way of the future, no question. I think there'll always be a role for interpersonal relationships.
Wow, I think that's so important. And
Yeah.
we're I just think we're not there yet where an elected official is going to be a machine. Like
No,
I
no.
can't.
God, I hope not. I hope not. I hope
Or
not.
and then the police, you want them to be of your community. You want to
100%.
be able to talk to them, you know them. You don't want it to be some just logical X's and O's
We've all
machine.
seen the Terminator too many times. We don't
Exactly.
want to. We don't want.
Don't want the Terminator. And then the last question before I give you some free money. The last one is, what is the silent killer of real estate projects? Is it utilities? Is it politics? Is it the construction costs? What do you think is the silent killer to development in Bordentown?
Well, listen. It's funny. That's an interesting way you phrase that last part of the question. We try to control what we can, and that's the politics end of it, and the inspections end of it, both of which obviously are in-house functions. We focus very hard on being efficient in our inspections and our process to formalize things and to get approvals through the land use process. We try to eliminate the political side of it altogether. It should not be that way. It's not that way here. Our elected officials are very good with that. We have a land use board, which is a separate board, an appointed board that handle the land use approvals and then the inspections. I think utilities or something in Bordentown Township, and this differs in different municipalities. We don't handle our own water or sewer. Those are separate entities that run them. So because I can't control that, sometimes builders struggle with that. We have good relationships with those utility entities, but they're not mine to control. So that's a challenge. I think that from what I understand from builders, it's the cost of construction. The land values are very high in New Jersey. The taxes are very high. I mentioned before about redevelopment. There are certain areas that we can be creative with tax incentives. You have to be a little careful with that. You don't want to give away the store, but you have to incentivize people in several different ways. But one of the ways you can incentivize businesses or growth is through some tax incentives, some tax breaks, short term or long term. So I think that it's overall cost. if I had to put my thumb on it, I'd say cost of doing business. At least here, I know that in other municipalities, sometimes the process gets bogged down. Selfishly, because I have a little bit of a background in the private sector, and so my focus is on getting things going. I have great staff. I have a great team here that understands that. They're real go-getters. I'm very proud of the team that we have here. They don't, there's statutes say, well, we have 20 days to, approve this permit. So we're going to put it on a stack and we'll see on day 19. But we don't do that. We take action on things as soon as we get them. So on our end, we like to and that's part of what we sell. That's part of the reputation I was talking about before. People, those guys and those men and women in the construction industry, they talk. Developers talk. And they know where the places are that will work with you and the places are that will put up barriers. So hopefully, and I'm pretty sure we're getting a good reputation of being a place that's saying, hey, come on in. We're going to work together. As long as, you're working in compliance with what we're trying to do, we can work everything out. So, but overall, it's expensive to do business in New Jersey. There's a lot of people here. It's a great market, but it's expensive. And I think that's what we hear more than anything else.
It makes a ton of sense. And
Yeah.
it's across the board, material prices, transportation prices, and things just start to add up. So it sounds like you guys have some levers that you guys can pull to just try to help out, to
Yeah.
encourage the right development, not just any
Correct.
development.
Correct.
Now we're at the fun part. So this last question,
It's all been
is the
fun for me, Jonathan.
yeah, that's true. I've been having a great time. But this one would be maybe one of the more fun parts because there's free money involved. So the last question is a three-parter. The first part is, what role would you add if you could add an additional $100,000 to the budget? So some role that you think would add value that you don't already have on staff. And then the second part is, if you had an additional $1 million added to the budget, what challenge or opportunity would you tackle? And then the last one is, if you had unlimited capital, unlimited people to work, unlimited staff for an entire year, what would be the challenge or thing that you would tackle?
Wow. Great questions. In terms of the first part, if we could add a singular person in a singular role, for me, the biggest part of my challenge as an administrator, quite honestly, is managing. We have a staff here of about, give or take, 100 full and part-time. So managing people is my biggest challenge. And people ask me all the time, what do you do for a living? I'm a township administrator. What does that mean? I'm in the people business. I work for people. I work for 5 elected officials directly. I work with people. Those are the employees that I work with. And we work ultimately for our residents and visitors. Right. I'm in the people business. I have to deal with people. Dealing with staff is hard. It's because we have collective bargaining units, unions, which are great, but they all have their own, needs. And then, when you have that many people in different roles, no two people are the same. We don't have a full-time HR person. HR kind of falls under me and finance a little bit because they do the payroll. If I could have a full-time HR person to really handle human resources on a full-time level, that would be a big benefit to me. That's something that I spend a lot of time on. Not that it's bad, because I like spending time with people, but there's so much detail anymore, so much specificity that has to be involved in HR, onboarding people, continual training, CEUs, those type of things, contracts. If we had a full-time HR person, selfishly for me, if you're asking me, and you were, that's what I would, if I had $1 million for you, or $1 million for a single project, we're just finishing up a big one here, so I won't count the building because that's already accounted for. I would say we have a pretty aggressive parks expansion plan that we have put into place. We've done a lot of expansion on our parks currently, but we have a 5-year plan of things that we'd love to add to our parks and add for our parks. Be it lighting for athletic fields so they can have some evening games, or concession buildings, or additional fields. Pickleball is huge now. We'd love to add some more pickleball fields. We're adding a splash pad this summer which was a great thing. We got some help from some grants from the state. Those type of amenities. Our parks we're always looking at our parks to try to improve and expand our parks. So that's where I would spend that money on, because I think that's a big part of the quality of life that our residents are really looking for. If I had unlimited, yeah, I would add staff. Our police department, we're really fighting to keep staffing levels up in our police department. It's difficult just because of the attrition. Guys retire, men and women retire. We try to back them up. I would hire a lot more police department right away. And give them a lot more tools. I think we do our best, but I'll give them a lot more tools. I think I would, public works, my guys, my men and women who maintain those fields and our roads, I would add a few people there for sure. And, we talked to piggybacking on the second part. We have a really big, the township many years ago, purchased a piece of waterfront property. We're on the Delaware River that had some environmental remediation. That it used to be an old shipyard. So there was some environmental things going on there. We're remediating it currently, but ultimately that's going to be a really big, super great park. That's where I would dump unlimited money into. I would create a band gazebo or a gathering place for things like that, pavilion, really make that a focal point for the township, not only for the township, but surrounding areas. And if I had unlimited funds, boy, it would be one of the best things on the East Coast. We're going to make it great anyway. We have some plans in place, but if I had unlimited funds and people, that would be the real shining star in our crown faster. So those are great questions. Let's hope they all come true.
I'm hoping for you, Michael. Yeah, I'd love that. Like, auditor or outdoor pavilion
Yeah.
on the river.
Yes.
Like that sounds
Yeah,
awesome.
it's all up here in my brain. I just got to make it happen. So, first things first, we're getting our building done and a few other things done, and then we'll focus on that. But if somebody came in with a bag full of money, that's where it would go. That's where it would go.
I love it. Well, Michael, we are at the end here. I'd love to give you a moment. If there's any last words that you want to share with our viewers about Bordentown, about your journey, about anything.
Yeah, thank you. And first of all, thanks again. Two things very briefly. I mean, number one, I mentioned before, I said I'm in the people business. I really feel strongly about the team that I have with me. We take, when we hire somebody new, I say all the time, I don't hire resumes, I hire people. I hire good people, good character people, smart people. And I'm really proud of the team I have. They're the reason that we get everything done. I'm at the top of the pyramid, but it's really the people that I work with, my team, that really makes it go. They're awesome. And for any manager, I would say focus on your team and build the strongest team. I've hired the smartest people. I don't care if I'm not the smartest person in the room. In fact, I shouldn't be. I hire the smartest people that I can. I give them the tools to do their job, and I let them do their job. I support them, and I let them do their job. I don't like to be micromanaged, so I don't micromanage. And so the team is super important. I'm really proud and appreciative of my team. And the other thing is, I think that one of the things in my career that I've tried to do, that I continue to try to do, that I think is very important in public service, especially now, is, there are a lot of things in public life that just been done that way because it's always been done that way. And people don't like to look outside of that comfort zone. And really ask questions about why and can we do things differently. And I'm always challenging that, and I think we have to continually challenge that. One example in New Jersey, which is, I think, unique to New Jersey, is that New Jersey is one of the most densely populated states in the country, but we have 5 individual municipalities in the state of New Jersey. Okay, that's an absurd number, and even more school districts, if you can believe that. And it's just not efficient, And when you ask why, well, we're a home rule state, so these little tiny, and I've worked in them. I've worked in the tiny towns, so I get it to a degree. But everyone likes to have their own little fiefdom and their own little power, source there. It's just not an efficient way to do government. We have to break down those barriers and that old thinking, and there's a lot of happening right now in government nationally, little distrust. And I think that we need to kind of break down those walls and start looking at things differently, talking about things differently, reaching out to people and doing public outreach. That's what I always strive to do, not just to go along to get along, but really make a difference, do something different, challenge status quo. You may not find something different, but at least you got to go through the process to figure out why. It's served me pretty well in my life. I've had a little different road through my life, as we talked about, from, football player to restaurant owner to elected official to now, appointed official. But I've always kind of tried to do that, kind of think differently, and just kind of challenge things, not just take things at face value. I think we need a little more of that. I would encourage people to do that. I think that's what part of what leadership is, and that's how I try to do it, how I've tried to live my life and do my job. Hopefully it's been working and I can do it for a little while longer. But I appreciate the opportunity to say those things and appreciate your time today. It's been great. I've had a lot of fun.
Likewise, Michael, I appreciate it. And on behalf of everybody here at Gentry, I'd like to say thank you for sharing your wisdom, sharing with candor and transparency things that, we may not be thinking of, like speed bumps,
That's right.
to the things that we're all thinking about, like housing. So Michael, I'd like to thank you. And to the viewers, thank you for tuning in. Again, I'm Jonathan Mason. I'm your host of the Gentry Podcast. And we had Michael, who is the Township Administrator of Bordentown, New Jersey. So for all of us here, thank you and have a great day.
Thank you.